Hey everyone, and welcome back for another episode of the DVC Clubhouse show. I am Amy, and joined with me as always is Jeff.
Hey everybody.
And today we have joining us, if you follow along with us on our YouTube channel regularly or on Facebook, you might recognize Scott and Kathleen Huff from our Scott's Tips for Dining, our infamous dining reviewers. They are joining us here today to share with us their DVC origin story. So welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us. And why don't you
Thanks
share
for
with
having
us
us.
where you are joining us from?
We are at Bellevue Lounge at the Boardwalk. We're actually staying here just one night, just tonight. So that's where we're at.
Jeff and I are not jealous at all.
I love it. I love it when people join us. Yeah, we're not jealous at all. I love it when people join us from Disney World. It just makes this all feel special.
Yeah, I love it too.
Definitely.
So why don't we, before we get into your DVC origin story, tell us a little bit about each of your Disney World stories. When you started visiting, when you fell in love with it, and all of those fun details.
You want me to go first?
Go ahead.
So, I did not grow up going to Disney. Actually, the first time I came to Disney was as an adult in 2020 during COVID. Growing up,
Wow.
we lived near like one of the best amusement parks, Cedar Point. So that's where we would go, like for vacation every summer. We'd go to Cedar Point. We'd go to when I was littler, there was another amusement park called Geauga Lake. We'd go there all the time. We'd go to SeaWorld, and we would go to the beaches all the time. So Disneyland or Disney World just was never really an option. It never really even got brought up. So until, I met Scott, and he has been to Disney World before, and he introduced me to it, and I just fell in love with it. Oh, and I would go to Vegas too. So that would be another destination I would always go to.
Disney World for adults, as it's been called.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was 2014 was the first time I came. And I was here like maybe 3 times before your first time.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I stayed at Port Orleans Riverside because that was the one I wanted to try. I think that was the one that I could afford at the time. But I had heard good things about it, and I fell in love with it. So every time I came back, that's where I stayed. I stayed 2 times in the summer, and then one time I came down for Christmas, and I got to experience all of the Christmas decorations and everything. But I never came as a kid. Same thing for me. We had Geauga Lake,
Mm-hmm.
Cedar Point,
SeaWorld,
and then we had Kennywood.
Oh, yeah, Kennywood in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, so we would always go to the local amusement parks, but I never got to experience Disney as a kid. So my first time at Disney, I was late 30s when I came. So it was a whole new thing for me. And, we would always travel like to the beaches. We would go to Myrtle Beach and different places like that. Just thought we'd try Disney one time, tried it, and never wanted to go anywhere else other than that after that.
So I love that. So you were both adults and went to Disney World for the first time and completely fell in love with it, which is just a testimony to the fact that Disney is for everybody. It's not just for kids. And in fact, some argue that it's better for just adults than it is for kids.
I would agree with
I
that.
agree.
Yeah.
Well, and what's crazy to me is, you get the internet trolls that make fun of Disney adults and or millennials that have gone for their first time and don't get the hype. I absolutely love that you guys didn't go until you were all grown up and then still loved it and are still going, and I think it's great.
So at what point did you learn about DVC or start to consider it?
Okay, so when Scott and I were engaged, we were just we didn't want like a big wedding. We both have been married previously. So we wanted something like kind of small. So it was just going to be, just us and my daughter Lily and maybe his daughter Grace, just something small. And we're like, why don't we just go to Disney and get married? You've never been there. My daughter's never been there previously at this time. I tried to actually take her as a little girl like years ago, but she wanted no part of it, and I'm like, I'm not spending all this money for some kid that does, when she doesn't want to go. So anyway, so we are like, let's go to Disney and get married. So we actually talked to everybody, like everyone that we needed to talk to. We were going to get married at Seabreeze Point here at the boardwalk. We had everything all planned out. This was before COVID. I had the person doing my hair, the photographer, like the Disney photographer. Everything was good to go. And then COVID hit. And
they wouldn't let us take our masks off for the
pictures.
And that was a deal breaker.
Oh, wow.
I didn't want to spend all that money, and I can't even have my mask off in a picture, like my wedding picture.
Yeah.
So we canceled it. And at that time, the lady so we were staying at Polynesian.
I think it was, well, at first, it's kind of crazy because at first we had wanted to book at Caribbean Beach. And then we changed it to Boardwalk.
Yes.
When I came previously, I didn't even know the Boardwalk existed. I knew Epcot was there, World Showcase. I walked around World Showcase, and I had no idea that off of France, you had this pathway that walked over to Beach Club and Boardwalk. I had no clue. So I had never even heard of it. But we, for whatever reason, just wanted to try the Boardwalk. So we went from Caribbean Beach to Boardwalk
to Polynesian.
Because Polynesian was on my bucket list. I had never stayed there. And we were set. We thought we had the perfect vacation, the wedding, everything was set up. And then COVID hit. We canceled
the officiant. We canceled we canceled everything.
Everything was canceled. And then we just said, I don't know how.
So the lady some lady from DVC, our original guide, called us and said, oh, I don't even know how she even got our number.
I think we called because we had found out, like we had seen it online. We were doing a little bit of research. And I thought, well, that would be kind of nice because if we end up loving it there, and I figured you were going to love it. So we just thought, well, we're going to just look into this and see like how much it's going to cost. Because I think one trip to the Polynesian, and this was with the meal plan.
Yeah, we had the meal plan booked.
The tickets, you had to buy it. We didn't have APs then.
No.
It was like over $10,000 for just one trip. So I'm thinking to myself, why not just put that money into something where we can enjoy it year after year? So we had reached out, I think, at one point to a DVC sales guide, and then she had called us back.
This was right after COVID. And
yeah, this was in March, right after.
Oh, this was before COVID because we got DVC before COVID hit.
We got it right in March.
Right in March, yes.
Yeah. So she called us and she kind of convinced us to go with DVC, but we had to pick a home resort and we didn't know which one to pick.
She was really, really pushing Riviera.
Yeah, she said, we have this really great moderate Riviera and it's brand new. And hi, Phil. And but she really wanted us to get Riviera. And we just, for some reason, we had a feeling about Boardwalk.
I did a lot of research, on these deluxe resorts. And I wanted Boardwalk. And I've never been here, but I knew I wanted Boardwalk. And the first time I got to see Boardwalk, I'm like, yep, I knew I would love it.
But that's ultimately how we ended up getting into DVC is
because we had to cancel our wedding.
We took all of that money from our wedding and we threw it into DVC to our first contract. So we ended up getting Boardwalk for our first contract. And then shortly after that, we wanted another contract because we loved it so much.
Where was your second contract?
Grand Floridian.
Oh, yeah. I think I knew that.
No, I take that back. It was Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Was it really?
Yes.
I thought it was Grand Floridian.
And then we got another small point contract at Grand Floridian.
That's right. That was our third one.
Yeah. But that's how we got into DVC is we had to cancel the wedding and we looked into that and we bought right at COVID.
But the crazy thing about that story is it started at Caribbean Beach. We're getting married. Caribbean Beach is where we're going to stay. Then we move it to Boardwalk. Then we move it to Poly. They canceled the trip at the Poly because we were going to book it with points now that we had DVC.
Yes.
And we canceled the Polynesian one too. We ended up, Riviera came up and we ended up going to Riviera. So her first ever trip to Disney, we stayed at Riviera.
Yeah.
When was that?
It was July 2020.
Nobody here at all.
Nobody was here.
So was that before the parks were open?
They had
Only
just
2.
opened. Yeah.
They just opened.
And Magic Kingdom.
There was only 2 parks open, Epcot and Magic Kingdom. So my first time here was at the Tower Studio at Riviera, and I got to see Epcot and Magic Kingdom.
Masks on at all times.
All times.
6 feet social distancing, and there was
You
like
still
maybe
loved it.
3 people in the resort. Oh yeah, you fell in love right away.
Yeah.
How long were you here for that trip?
2 days.
It was just a weekend.
Oh, I'm saying here as
It
if
was just
I'm there too right now. I'm like, how long were you here? I'm in New Jersey right now. Everybody just so
Well,
everyone
you
knows.
might as well live here. You're here enough.
I know it's weird when I'm not there. So you were there for a long weekend and you totally fell in love with it.
Yes, like you would think I would have some sort of attachment to Riviera since it was my first resort ever here, and I don't. I like Riviera. I like all the resorts. I don't dislike any of their resorts. I like them all for different reasons, but I just don't have that attachment to Riviera at all.
Really quick, I just want to comment on the fact that you didn't know that there was a whole nother world outside the second entrance into Epcot. On my DVC origin story, I shared that when I first came to Disney, I made all the mistakes. We stayed at that really, really awful place and tried to walk and all those things, right? That same trip, we had a dining reservation at Yachtsman. And again, not knowing things and not knowing anything about the second entrance, we got out the second entrance and immediately got on the boat that's right there to go to Yacht Club. That's like a 3-minute walk. Took us to Hollywood Studios, took us to Boardwalk, took us to Swan and Dolphin, and then it took us to yeah.
Right.
So anyway,
Funny though,
I love
because
it.
a lot of people do not know if you're not staying at Crescent Lake or have never stayed at Crescent Lake, that is like a world that people do not even know exists. It's
Right.
kind of wild. I mean,
It's true.
I think that maybe now because of the Skyliner, it's getting a little bit more like visibility from people that are staying at value and moderate resorts. But before that, it's like this tucked away little neighborhood that I feel like unless you were staying at, I feel like it's almost like this like private community for DVC members.
Yeah.
I get that too.
Definitely. Yep. I had done no research at all. I
What'd you
didn't
say?
even know this. Like I said, I never even knew that this was here. I did no research. It was my first trip to Disney, and I could have walked around World Showcase 100 times and never realized that this was back here.
Well, and that's to that point. Even when you're walking around, across that footbridge from France to United Kingdom, all it looks like is there's like a little store over there and it dead ends. Like you have to
Right.
want to go. There's no reason to go over there unless.
Mhm.
So
Now,
you're right.
I just happened to the first time I ever went to Disney back in whatever 1995. It was before the boardwalk was built, and oh no, it was 1991. Sorry, it was 1991 when I went. It was before the boardwalk was built, and Yacht and Beach Club had just opened, and so the people that I had traveled with, my friend and her family, they wanted to see the new resorts because they were big Disney people. So it was very exciting. The 1990s were a very exciting time for people who were big Disney World fans because there was so much built during that time. And so they were like people who had like their finger on the pulse of all of the stuff that was happening. So they wanted to check out Yacht and Beach. And so I knew about that entrance to the International Gateway entrance because that had just opened recently because of they had built those hotels. And when you walked out of Epcot, there was actually, I don't remember if there were boats. There probably were, but there was a tram that you could get on that would take you from um, International Gateway around to Swan and Dolphin, and it kind of traveled along the way. Like there was like a boardwalk there that is where the tram traveled on, but the resort wasn't there. It was just, the path that the tram took. And so I just happened, and and I fell in love with Beach Club on that trip. And then when Boardwalk was built, it was just like mind blowing to me that this was like just another amazing resort in this circle of amazing resorts that were already there. Um, and it's like,
So
again,
what
like this
was
hidden
over
gem.
here? What
What'd
was
you say?
over here before? What was over here
It was
before
just
it was built?
it was just undeveloped. It was like undeveloped land, and there was like they had when they built the Swan and the Dolphin, they built this like kind of boardwalk way so that the tram could drive. Um
Okay.
and
I bet
yeah,
that was
so
weird to see.
Beach and Yacht Club just kind of looked across the lake to kind of nothing until they started
Oh,
building the boardwalk a couple years later.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I didn't realize that the Swan and Dolphin was there first.
Before boardwalk.
Yeah.
Yeah. We went I and that was also it was and the Swan and Dolphin at that time looked even more kind of like because it right now Crescent Lake kind of makes like this full circle because you've got boardwalk on one side and yacht and beach on the other. But before it was just yacht and beach and with nothing over here on the left and then you've got these two massive buildings with like the swan with this big fish and the swan on the other one, and they really were just for as much as people think that I mean, I think they're polarizing. People who either love them or hate them, but for people who think that they're a giant eyesore and that was like Michael Eisner's one of his biggest mistakes he made in the 90s was agreeing to that. Like, I think that those people also remember just how out of place they looked because they became the focal point because there was not this like complete circle. There was just these two resorts on the side, and then these you come out and like these two massive buildings that were really kind of what your like line of sight was drawn to.
I couldn't imagine this area right now just looking at the Swan and Dolphin and not Boardwalk. Like, do
Yeah.
you have any pictures of that when you were here? When you stayed at Beach Club?
I don't, but I will say that if you do a search on YouTube, there is a video that exists of the tram ride from International Gateway to
Oh, I would love to
Swan and
see that.
Dolphin.
I'd like to
So
see that.
Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know. Maybe we can link it, or if people are interested, if I can find it. I saw it once, like a long time ago, because I was trying to
I'll have to look it
remember,
up.
like because now, I mean, I've been there so many times, and in my mind, Boardwalk has always been there because
Right.
I've been there a million times. So I was trying to remember back to the few times that I went before it was built, and I found it.
Hmm.
What's great, and you mentioned it being polarizing and being a huge mistake and all those things. As somebody that never even went there until just a few years ago, I can't imagine that skyline looking any different. They're so iconic
Hmm.
Right.
to me. I don't know. It seems like it's part of it now. So
The the Swan and Dolphin remind me more of like a Vegas hotel
Yeah.
than
Definitely.
Disney.
It's got that feel to
Yeah,
it.
it's got the Vegas feel to me. I don't know why.
Yeah,
hmm.
I get that. I feel like Jeff, to your point, people feel like it's always been there since you've gone there, and so it's just part of that landscape. But like people who are like the old school Disney people, like when it went up, it's like how polarizing some things are now for that are new.
Yeah,
um
yeah,
that's how it was when Swan and Dolphin were built. People were just like, oh my gosh, what? And some people were like, oh, where else could this be built besides Disney World? And other people were like, do you see any other Disney World hotel that looks like this? No. um but I do. I see what I, I I can get that Vegas vibe. I actually kind of feel that way about the Grand Destino Tower. Like I get Vegas vibes from that
Yeah.
hotel too.
I can
Definitely.
totally see that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Even from like the fixtures on the ceiling, like, or I don't know,
Hmm.
they're very like
Yeah.
Vegas feeling to me. But anyway, we're digressing away from your origin story.
Just
And
really quick, I
so,
found that video.
oh, did you? Okay, well, you definitely need
Yeah,
to link it so that people can see it because it's a trip.
it is crazy. Sorry, I should be paying attention. I'm over on YouTube doing other things. Okay, I'm back.
Um, so all right, so you became DVC members. You owned at Boardwalk, Animal Kingdom Lodge, and Grand Floridian. You stayed at Riviera for your first trip. So where are you in terms of resorts that you still need to stay at, either at Disney World or just in general?
So we have not stayed at the beaches. We have not stayed at Vero or Hilton Head. We do have Vero Beach booked for my birthday this year. We booked a
Fun.
weekend in October, hoping the weather's still good. It should be.
Yeah.
Um, I really do want to get to Hilton Head though. I'd like to see that. We have not been to Disneyland or Alani, so Alani is definitely on my bucket list. I just got to
And so
get him
you
to fly.
so you've stayed at all of the DVC resorts at Disney World.
We got one more left. We have Boulder Ridge.
Well, two. Kadani.
Well, we've never. I've been to Kadani. My dad stayed at Kadani, so I say that we've been there because, but we've never actually stayed there. But
Okay.
in Boulder Ridge.
It counts. We're calling Animal Kingdom just Animal Kingdom because I've stayed there and I don't want to have to stay there again to stay at Jumbo, so we're calling it a day.
Well, and I also feel like it's one contract. You know, it's not two different
Yep.
contracts. It's not like Copper Creek versus Boulder Ridge where there's
Right.
two different
Yeah.
contracts. It's one resort, so
Yeah.
it counts.
So basically just Boulder Ridge then.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's all I have
And
left too, and I'm doing that for Moonlight Magic in September. So
Oh, nice.
and so, what is your favorite? I mean, I know Scott. I can answer this, but for the people who might not be so familiar with you both, I'll let you answer.
Without a doubt, it's Old Key West. Uh, no, sorry. Grand
you
Floridian for me is where it's at. Sorry, Jeff.
I can eject you from this meeting so easy. I just have to click this button and you're
That's
gone.
okay.
So
That's all right.
But then we lose Kathleen.
it's true.
So for me, I love all the resorts. I really do. I know someone, people are like, no, what's your favorite? I really do love all of them. I even like Old Key West. Um, but my favorite, it, if you would ask me about 2 months ago, I would say Boardwalk, hands down. But I think Grand Floridian is creeping up to the first spot. I think the more time I spend at Grand Floridian, and now that we're local, we spend a lot more time there, just the more I love being there. So,
It just has so much. I mean, I don't know why. Every time I go there, I don't want to leave. It's the feeling that you get. You just feel like it's just old school Disney. You know you're at Disney. It's got that the piano player,
mhm.
the what's the lounge, the
Enchanted Rose.
Rose. I like just to hang out there. The restaurants, you can't really beat the restaurants.
Yeah.
The quick service is good.
Citrico's Grand Floridian Cafe Narcoossee's is opening back up in April, so
Yeah.
that's why I like it. I feel like I'm at Disney when I'm there.
I always said, to me, I call Grand Floridian and Riviera like, how like on Titanic they would talk about like old money and new money. I always called Grand Floridian old money and Riviera the new
No
money.
money.
I love that. That's perfect.
Because I do like Riviera. I really do. I just don't want to spend my points there.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's
Well, I
it's
mean, I've said it.
expensive.
I'm like beating a dead horse when it comes to Riviera. I like it too, but there's no way that I would spend the money on the points. The points chart to me is just, it doesn't even make sense when you think about the fact that Boardwalk and Beach Club are footsteps away from Epcot and
Yeah.
have multiple dining options. It just doesn't make sense. But I'm with you on Floridian, and we've had this conversation where you know, there was when Grand Floridian, when they first built the villas, I had no desire. And I actually kind of felt the same way about the points chart at Grand Floridian. I was like, the points chart is too high. It's stuffy. I stayed there years ago in a cash room, which actually, funnily enough, I just stayed at in a resort studio last week. And I think that it's the same room that I was in when I paid cash. And it was, but it was before it was refurbished, and it was just dark woods and
Hmm.
florals that were like mauve and like pine green, like that type, like evergreen color. Um,
Right.
and it just, I don't know, it just, Meisner's Lounge didn't do anything for me. Citricos before the refurb was, I didn't enjoy the decor, and the food was just mediocre. They have really like just really stepped it up at Grand Floridian, and I love it there too. And for as much as I love water slides, I love that courtyard pool so much.
Me
It
too.
is just so relaxing. Like it is a place where when I'm in Disney, like I feel like I'm on vacation there and not
Hmm.
just like killing myself trying to get to a
Right, right.
park at 7:30 a.m. Like that pool is just, I don't know, it just feels like vacation to me.
I think a lot of people that's never been to Grand Floridian or has never stayed there, they have this like conception that it's like stuffy or whatnot, and I don't feel that way at all when I'm there.
Like
I
if you're
mean,
not wearing a polo shirt and
no.
khakis, you're not welcome at Grand
I
Floridian.
mean,
And
he doesn't wear polo shirts.
no, I mean, I think it's you could walk into Grand
It's
Floridian the same way that you would walk into Saratoga Springs or
right.
any other place, and
Hmm.
I don't know why. It's just I like it that so much
I
better
feel
there.
like it has to do with back when it opened, like what kind of the perception was. And also I think that it has to do with like the decor, because I mean, like Meisner's Lounge was just like that. Talk about stuffy. Like that place was stuffy. And I think that it was just things like that, and like just the way that the decor looked like in the rooms, like it kind of just felt very, I mean, it's kind of, it's a Victorian theme, so there was Victorian decor, but it just was not, it just wasn't welcoming. And I think that that's why I think that like they've done such a good job of
Right.
making it still feel like it's this kind of more like upscale, but very tasteful and elegant without being stuffy. I think they've done a great job.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I was one of the people that felt that way, that it was too stuffy, and I think it stemmed from, you know, before I bought into DVC, my first few trips, we were at All Stars. That's what we could afford. When Pop Century opened, we're like, ooh, let's splurge on the extra $20 a night for Pop Century. We were not staying at the Grand Floridian. That was for those other people that make all that
Hmm.
extra money. So I think I felt like it was just so uppity and out of my price range that I just never felt until we stayed there this last time, and it did raise up a few notches on my belt. It's still not my favorite, but I do see why people like it. I do. It's a beautiful resort.
Definitely.
You walk into that lobby and
I
you're like,
also think that it being on the monorail, like to your point, Kathleen, like you said, like you feel like you're at Disney World when you're there, or maybe Scott, you said it. I think being on the monorail too, like it just gives you see the castle, like you do
Hmm.
feel like I am in Disney World when you're at that resort.
Right.
right. It's like when we stayed at Vegas. You either stay on the strip or you stay
Hmm.
off the strip, and that feels like it's the strip right there. Like that whole monorail loop that you were talking about, that feels like you're staying at Disney right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but it's like interesting, and I mean, Kathleen, you can probably relate to this since you love the boardwalk too. That is a place for me that when, even when I go to Disney and I'm staying on the monorail, it doesn't feel like a trip to Disney fully and completely if I'm not spending some time at the boardwalk, because that is a place to me that just feels like, that feels like home to me. I think like when I think of, and it's probably because I own at Beach Club, and because I've stayed at Boardwalk so much, because speaking of points charts, they
Oh
have a
yeah.
great points chart. Um, I've spent so much time there, and it just feels like Crescent Lake also to me feels like Disney World, but it's like, it's almost like off the beaten path Disney World, you know, not like, I guess to your point, Scott, it's like not being on the strip. It's like being strip adjacent.
The
Strip
difference between
adjacent.
the Strip and Fremont Street.
Right.
Right.
So let's just tell our viewers that you guys then you just recently about a year ago moved to the Orlando area from Ohio.
We did. We moved
So
last
tell us a little
April.
bit about that.
We moved last April, so this will be a year coming up.
Yep.
Currently, we're just renting right now, just down the road. So we can come here after work during the week if we want, if we're not too tired or whatnot. It's literally 10 minutes from here. Um, but when we moved down here, we didn't think that we were going to use our DVC as much. So we actually sold our Animal Kingdom contract and our Grand Floridian contract. And those were resale, and our Boardwalk was our direct. So we ended up moving down here, and I'm like, I want that contract. I want those contracts back.
I got yelled at.
So we ended up getting back the Grand Floridian contract, but we have not. We didn't get back the Animal Kingdom one, which I think he's regretting. But we mainly got rid of that because the point charts at Animal Kingdom is amazing too. I mean, the one time we got like 5 days in a Volume Studio for 40 points.
Christmas time.
Christmas time.
Yeah.
I mean, 40 points.
Amazing.
So we really use that contract mainly for the 11-month window. And now living here, we really don't need that.
We used it for longer stays.
Yeah.
So, but now that we're here, we don't really do the longer, it's just 1 day, maybe 2 days.
Out of the month, we try to get on property and stay.
We don't do like the week.
No.
So we didn't use it the same way that we did when we were back in Ohio. So we kind of felt like we needed to get rid of that one. But I do regret it because I like Animal Kingdom too.
So we did get Grand Floridian back though.
Yeah, so and that's a great question for there are a lot of people who are Disney fans who consider making the move from wherever they live to be closer to Disney. How did that impact how you experience Disney and how you use your DVC membership?
I just know that now that we're here, my initial thought was we don't need as many points. Because I didn't think we were going to be here as much to do like an overnight stay. We can come here because we were so close. We can just come here whenever we want to, whether it's after work, whether it's on the weekend. And my first thought was we really don't need the points. And I still kind of feel that way sometimes because you're not so far away and it's not such, a once every 4-month trip that you do. But we have family that comes in. And like you were saying about your dad, we put her dad up in a room. Your cousin is coming down, so we're going to put them up in a room. But you use them a lot differently now. Not so much for us, but we're kind of putting our family up with our points, and we still do.
We do weekend trips, like right
trips,
now,
yeah.
Tonight.
But I don't know. Like I still feel that way. Like maybe I don't need as many points, but I don't want to get rid of them because you don't know, maybe that'll change later on. You don't know if you're going to want to come more often or not, but.
Well, plus we are moving shortly, like within the next couple months, a little further away, probably like 30 minutes away, 30 minutes south of here. So it's going to be harder to come during the week, when we get off work or whatnot, because we're not going to be as close anymore. So we might use our points a little more then. Like right now, we stay like one night a month. Maybe once we move, maybe we'll stay a whole weekend.
Like do a longer weekend.
Yeah, a longer weekend because we won't be here during the week like we are now.
And we normally don't do anything other than studios. Mm-hmm. Our first 1-bedroom was, January?
Yeah, we got a 1-bedroom value at Jumbo.
So now we can, instead of staying longer periods of time, maybe we can try, the bigger rooms and try like the 2 bedrooms, things that we never got to experience before, and maybe we can do that now.
And I'm just the type.
And you said you're going to Vero for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So do you see yourself using your membership more for off-property
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Vero, Hilton, and I know we're going to get to Alani at some point. We just haven't booked it yet, but I know it's coming real soon that we're going to end up booking that. But yeah, those are the
Because
places.
he keeps hearing my mouth. We need to get to Alani. We need to get to Alani.
I'm not objecting to it. I don't know how. I don't know how I'm going to handle the flight because I'm not real big on flying, but I've flown to Vegas, so I guess I can handle it.
Well, that's easy. You just break it up with
Yeah.
a stop at Disneyland, because I know, based on someone's social media in this group, someone's a pretty big fan of It's a Small World, and
Yes.
the one in Disneyland is way better.
And that's what I hear.
So
It's a long flight to take a nap.
I'll just give him some Benadryl.
Thanks. You know all the
no,
tricks.
you guys got to get out to Disneyland. You'll love it. If you haven't been to, you tell Disney World till you're an adult. Disneyland is special. So we're gonna get you out there. I've decided. I made an executive decision.
Also, so speaking of that, what is on your what's tops on your DVC bucket list?
Oh,
Well, mine is Alani.
other than that, I guess if I'm going to stay on property here, I want to do a 3-bedroom grand villa over at Bay Lake Tower. And I don't know why. I just think they look really, really nice with those big windows. I just think it would be nice to have a lot of people over and have that theme park view with, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I just think they look really cool. Either that or a cabin.
Yeah, I think, funnily, because when we ask the question, what's your least favorite resort, and I say Bay Lake Tower, but I also have I'm drawn to the 3-bedroom grand villas at Bay Lake Tower because I think that they look with the windows overlooking a theme park view over there would be that would be pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Very special. I'm with you. Having a large group watching the fireworks from the villa would be pretty awesome.
Definitely.
That would be fun. I can be available for that, so let me know when that date is. I'll be easy to come over.
We'll send you an invite.
And so we also, in that vein, what is your least favorite?
Don't ask Scott this question.
I can't even ask this question. Oh my gosh.
Go ahead.
I'll take this one.
What is your least favorite DVC resort?
I always say Old Key West, and I know it's a big joke, but we stayed there for a week.
We stayed there for a whole week.
It's the only place that we've ever stayed at continuously without breaking it up and doing a split stay. We stayed there for an entire week, and I was ready to pull out whatever hair I have left. I was ready to pull it out. But it was that bus loop. I don't know what it is. It's the internal bus loop. I don't know. I don't know how they put, this is just me again, please don't hate me for this, but I don't know how they put Old Key West in the same category as a deluxe as a place like Grand Floridian. When you walk into the lobby, it doesn't have the same wow factor. But I get why people like it. It's laid back. It's very relaxing. If you want to get away from the hustle and bustle of Disney, that's the place to go. It is very laid back. It's just quiet. But I don't know. It just wasn't my thing. I felt like I was very disconnected from Disney while I was there, and everything was a trek.
I agree with you that it's not in the same category as Grand Floridian, but I feel like it being called a deluxe villa, what it really boils down to for me is the points chart, and it's got a great points chart. So it's not, the points chart is nowhere near as high as it is at Grand Floridian. So I feel like in that regard, while they are being called the same thing from a points classification, they're not. So, and I mean, and it's part of why I love it too, because, I certainly would not pay Grand Floridian points to stay at Old Key West, but I'm happy to pay Old Key West points to stay at Old Key West.
So we stayed there for a full week. It was actually my daughter's first trip to Disney when we stayed at Old Key West for a week.
She never wants to come back now.
And so she also does not like Old Key West. I'll joke with her sometimes saying, "Where do you want to stay this summer? Do you want to stay at Old Key West?" And she'll text me big capital letters, "No."
Well, and were you guys at a studio there? You said.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I think this is where I get in a fight with people that say things like mod adjacent and it doesn't compare. I think to really get DVC dialed in, I think a studio compares to a hotel room in a lot of ways. Not in every way, but in a lot of ways. Microwave and a mini fridge, 2 beds, whatever. I think to really get the DVC feel, I almost feel like you have to be in a 1 bedroom, because when you add the kitchen, it adds a whole different aspect to those rooms. And that's where I do fall in love with Old Key West is there's so much room in those rooms. You don't need to go down to the gym. You can just run laps in your 2 bedroom if you want to. Like
Yeah.
it's such a hard comparison for me, because I know people hate Riviera for the Tower Studios.
Oh.
Well, wait till you get into a 1 bedroom, and then let's talk, because that's my favorite room on property right now is the 1 bedroom at Riviera. Now, I don't want to pay those points, but from an aesthetic and a layout point of view, it's the best one for me.
So I love the Tower Studios at Riviera. Um, I think it's perfect. I think it's you like them as well. I mean,
That's one of my favorite views on property. If you get the right floor, I guess you could see Magic Kingdom fireworks. You could see Harmonious. You could look over and see Phantasmic, and I think they're perfect. I hope they put them at the Polynesian Tower. I hope they have, what are they called? Tower Studios.
yeah.
I hope they have them there.
I did hear that the 1 bedrooms at Old Key West are very nice. So I don't know if I'll ever get to experience it. Probably not.
Not without getting a divorce, it sounds like.
Yeah. um, I mean, when he like looks for availability, I don't even think he checkmarks Old Key West. I don't even think it's on the list.
So I'm going in December and we'll be staying in a 2 bedroom at Old Key West for a night. So when I'm there, you can come see it and
Yeah.
you can see why people rave about it, because it really is like it it definitely elevates the experience there when you have all of this space, big balconies with like not just 2 chairs, but like you have a full table with chairs so you can eat your family meals out there. Or I just really like, I go back to where I feel like when Disney conceptualized Disney Vacation Club, they wanted people to feel like they were living at Disney. And so those 1 and 2 bedrooms, like really, you could see yourself living in those versus like where I like some of the other like 1 and 2 bedroom units, they wouldn't be someplace that like I could spend, a lot of time with the number of people that you fit into one. Um, but they're just they're big, they're spacious, they feel comfortable, they feel like a fun place. Like if and look, I will say that my love for Old Key West has increased as my children have gotten older, because I stayed there once when my kids were when I still had a stroller. And yeah, the bus loop
Yeah.
can be a pain in the butt. And when you're constantly needing to fold a stroller to get on a bus, and then that can be a pain in the butt. So I do think that there, is something to be said about when you have small kids and you're dealing with strollers, not needing to deal with the bus like as infrequently as possible.
I remember the one time we were here. It was before we moved. I think we were at Hollywood Studios. I have no idea where we were, but I collect the resort coffee mugs, and I needed an Old Key West coffee mug because the last time we were there, they didn't have one. So I had to come to Old Key West by myself. I left Scott and Lily. I don't know where they were, but I got on the bus and I went to Old Key West. They did not have my resort mug, but I got something else instead. But by the time, and Old Key West gift shop, it's nice. They have a lot of stuff. I'm like looking around at everything. It's that bus, it still didn't come around. By the time I looked in the whole gift shop and I walked around like by the pool area, it still was not done going around the loop. But
I don't hate it. I'm not against staying there again. I think, like you said, Amy, if we had a 1 bedroom or a 2 bedroom, I think I would like it a lot more. just because when we were at Animal Kingdom and we got a 1 bedroom, it was a totally different feel. And I can just imagine that being at Old Key West, having a lot more space.
Mhm.
You're going to feel like you're in a home, rather like what Jeff said, rather than being in a hotel room. I think it would just have a whole different feel. But
Yeah.
I'm not against it. Like I said, if I got to stay there again, I would definitely, because the points are cheap. So, you might as well try to get a 1 bedroom or a 2 bedroom just to experience it.
Yeah, you can get a 1 bedroom at Old Key West for the same amount of points as you can get a studio
Yeah.
at
Yeah,
other
Right.
that's true.
resorts.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
and to be fair, and I know I defend my child like like whatever, but um I've never had to do the bus loop. We always stay near Hospitality House so that we can just walk across and jump on the last stop. So I've never had to deal with that, but I have had to deal with the bus loop at Coronado, which does make me want to do bad things to myself, and I get it. I mean, that is a deal breaker for a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Yep.
I'll never stay at Coronado again for that same reason. So
Like I said, as far as my least favorite resort, I don't have one. I like them all.
What a political
cheater.
answer.
very
Yes, thank you.
diplomatic. Um, so we like to wrap up these interviews by asking our guests who appear with us if there's a memory or something that from a past trip that would not make your highlight reel. Something that maybe went amiss, whether it's Disney's fault or not, whatever, it's just a memory from a trip where you look back and things did not go as planned.
Um, I I don't think I really have. We've had every. I really don't have one. I really don't. Actually, there is one instance, and it's more of a funny thing rather than like a bad thing. Um,
What was it?
he's probably going to be embarrassed.
Oh, don't
Oh, I
say that.
like this
No,
already.
we can't say that. But
No, I love it.
Actually, I think it might have been the trip when we first met Jeff. I don't remember. I think it might have been. So we met
That
Jeff at
I
Epcot.
have a follow up story to this, but continue.
oh boy,
Um, and we're drinking around the world, and all of a sudden, I don't see Scott anymore. He just like took off from me. He was, we were drinking around the world and stuff, and I see, on my Disney experience, all these photos of Scott coming up on the photos of by himself. So I'm like, okay, well, he's in Norway or he's in Mexico now. So then I get a picture on my phone of him in his glasses with, he was wearing a mask too, wearing a mask, and he was in a stairwell somewhere. I'm like, where is he? No, actually, I take that back. I did not get a text. He actually posted this on Facebook, and I saw it, and I'm like, where is my husband? And his caption said something like Gray Sloan Memorial, and I'm like if you anybody that watches Grey's Anatomy knows what that is. But turns out he was actually back at the boardwalk in some room that looked like he was going into a basement.
I think it was just the hallway, like the stairwell. But
Yeah. So it's when when he takes off from me and I can't find him, I just have to look on Facebook because he just starts posting pictures, or he will have random My Disney Experience pictures on there.
that's only happened once, and that was probably because Jeff bought me a bunch of drinks the first time that I met him. So, joking.
Well, that's amazing because I had some friends that were there with me on that trip, and they have talked about this for a while after that. They thought I was so famous because some random people came up to me at Epcot and wanted to like hang out with us and have drinks with us because I didn't tell them anything. Like I just said, "Hey, and all of a sudden I walked up with you guys, and they're like, "Who's that?" And I'm like, "Oh, they're fans." And they're like, "What?" And like Scott and Kathleen hung out with us for a while. We rode Soarin' and had some drinks, and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and then we had like a dinner reservation or something. Went our separate ways, and then Scott went AWOL, and we never reconnected. But to this day, my friends are like, "Jeff's Disney famous." These random people come up and just like want to ride rides with him, and I didn't correct them because it's great.
Oh, that's funny.
We will go with that. That's fine. Well, thank you guys so much for taking time out of your weekend getaway at the boardwalk and at Disney. Is there any other final words or wisdom that you would like to leave with our viewers?
Just DVC's been an amazing experience. I never thought when you buy a timeshare, you never would think that you would also be buying into a community like this. And just to be able to meet great people, the friendships that we've
Mm-hmm.
had in the last couple of years have been unbelievable. So, people talk about DVC as a thing that you buy and a thing that you own, but it's so much more than that. And we've been so fortunate.
Yeah.
And now that we're here, and every time people get to come down and we get to hang out with them, um, it's amazing. I mean, we just can't say enough. Thank you to you guys for doing this. Uh, DVC Clubhouse, everything. Like I said, we just meet more people, more friendships. It's been amazing.
Yep, it definitely has.
I can't wait. I can't wait to get down there and have the same experience. Like, and I'm glad that we're going to be close together. I feel like we're going to be. I'm going to make you guys be my friend. So hopefully we'll get to hang out and stuff. But maybe we'll invite.
And when I run
Yeah.
out of points,
Yeah.
when I run out of
We
Well,
have
I
points,
already
guest
told you,
bedrooms.
Amy. You can.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna cash in.
My point charts are a little higher than theirs though at my house. So because I'll have a pool.
Hey, I'm working on it.
Yeah, that's another thing.
I'm working on it.
I think we're getting there.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in and watching another episode, and for to Scott and Kathleen for taking time out of your weekend away. Hope you guys have a magical time. And for everyone else, be sure to like and subscribe. If you have any feedback or anything that you'd want to see, be sure to comment below. And until next time, DVC you real soon.